Hi, welcome. Welcome back to the add types to enquirer, and this is the take two of the session 25. And without further ado, let's get started. So last time I was declaring what I did was a failure, and then try to figure out what's going on. But it turns out it's actually I make a mistake in my logic. The actual implementation is correct, and so here's why. So if you're not clear on what the question is, you can go back to take a look at the part one, and so I'm not going to repeat it over here. So the issue I have in part one in the last video is that I mistakenly tried to describe two things at the same time. So what actually happens is that the generic one, the string, when the type, the property type is a string, the type of the value is actually dictated or controlled by the generic parameters. And for example, when you put in an initial values into the object. So because of that, it's not really in like in the last video that's saying, well, let me revert it to the original code so that you can see. So let me comment this out. So this is the original code, right? And so the original one, this is saying this is the value of v is a boolean. The reason, of course, is because the type b is satisfy the string, and then this one takes precedence, and so it's saying that, oh, this is more likely the case, and so it takes the type of v as a boolean instead of a number. So but based on our usage, since you are using the generic type to infer what the value is, this works. So you can see here, once I using the generic type, then the value of v is properly typed as a number, as in the infer 2 over here. Right, and then if I put in, say, something else, this, well, here this is saying it is an error. So let's keep it simple first by first putting in something over here like this. So then this value, the value v is properly typed to a string because this is a string. So say if I put in a number, this is typed as a number because this does not fall into the type string A, string little a, or string little b, so that it's satisfied to be identified as the inferred G type. And so the generic works, it takes in, and the value of v is properly typed, right? So that's why this solution works fine. And you can also see that when when you go back to, say, over here, this is a, let's see, well, actually maybe I need to put it in here. Yep, there you go. So the order, you can see one more thing is the order of the overload also matters, because the custom question is the general one. So when the, well, let me backtrack a little bit to show you what's the problem. So this one right now, this work, right? This order, this specific one comes before the generic one. So then the format function, you can see the value is typed as Boolean and undefined. If I move the generic one to the top, the one that we've typed is a string, then this is typed as any. So the order of the overload also matters, and this is actually known when we are defining function overloads. We have to go from the most specific to the most generic. So say for example, when you define a function foo, and then if the first overload you were saying oh it can be an argument of string like this, then if you say function foo a equals to a number, b equals to a string, and then the rest of arguments string array. Well, actually this might work. This is not a good example. So if I say a, then yeah, this is not a good example anyway. Yeah, but the example I have in mind, I don't want to put it in because it's too wordy, is the overloading of generics. So you may see some types, some functions, when they type it with unspecified number of generics, you will say T1, T2, T3, and so on, and then you type accordingly. So you typically what you want to do is go from the specific one to the generic, but anyway that would be it can be added in different videos. So the last things for this videos I want to show is, let's see if this is optional. So you will see that even if it's optional, this still works. And then this it will probably type as unknown, because without the initial, you don't know what this is. Right? So if you force it to by default as a string, this will not work. It will still say it is an unknown, because the default types does not apply here, because the V is really inferred in the usage. So this is unknown, so pay attention to that. But if you say type of V equals to string, then V is a string. Right, you can see that this is a string, but that's the nature of the unknown type. All right, so that's it for this video, and let's recap. So in this video, we quickly it's a take two of the last one to fix my logic, and what happened is that the implementation is fine. It's just that my explanation was incorrect, because the type of the value V inside the function format is dictated by the generic type over here, instead of like this. So that's why our system actually works. Right, and one more thing is remember that the order of the overload, the function overload, matters. So the more specific one go first, and then the more generic ones goes below it. Okay, that's it for this video, and I hope you enjoy this and hope you learned something. So it's time for you to go out to do some coding, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.